Hey everyone! Welcome at this third video on HR in operations. My name is Joy Bergs, and in this video I will talk you through two different theories on job design. In a previous video I already explained a little bit more on job characteristics. These are the aspects that are specific to a certain job. The job characteristics model is a theory that explains that the tasks an employee does are key to their motivation. So looking back at Taylorism, we can actually assume that the more monotonous jobs or tasks a person needs to do, the lower their motivation is. Whereas on the other hand, if the person has a very challenging job, well, most probably they're motivated as well. The theory specifies 5 job characteristics: skill variety, task identity, task significance, autonomy, and feedback. Skill variety refers to the amount of different skills or talents a person needs to execute a certain job. So most probably the job consists of different activities for which the person needs to use different kind of skills. Task identity means that the person that is executing the job is able to finalize the full product from the beginning to the very end, so that the person is not only involved in one specific part of the task, but he or she is able to execute it by its whole. Task significance means whether you have the feeling that your job has an actual significant impact on the lives of other people, or maybe on society as a whole. Do you have the feeling that your job is meaningful, that you really add something? Autonomy means that the person has the ability to decide for themselves how they execute the job. So for example, are they really able to decide on their own pace, on their own procedures? And finally, feedback really means whether the person gets some feedback, some knowledge on how their job is actually executed. So this could be by, for example, their leader, by their manager, or this could be coming from the customers. You can imagine that an assembly line worker has low skill variety, low task identity, low task significance, low autonomy, and often also a low amount of feedback. Whereas, for example, teachers experience a high level of each of those job characteristics. The job demands resources model explains that the job characteristics lead in turn to a higher meaningfulness of the job, to more responsibility for the outcomes, and to more knowledge of the results, which in turn would have an effect or an influence on the performance of the employee and their personal outcomes, such as motivation and satisfaction. So as a manager, you should try to push the buttons a bit in order to make sure that the employee experiences enhanced job characteristics. You could, for example, combine their different tasks so that the assembly line worker doesn't only put the lid on the bottle, but they are also able to work some days in packaging. You could also think about creating natural work units, letting the different employees collaborate in teams on a specific part of the process. You could also think about enhancing their relationships with clients. To what extent do they get involved in the customer part? Furthermore, you could think about vertical loading. Instead of getting more horizontal tasks, the worker could also possibly get more responsibility regarding their level of leadership. Finally, you could think about the amount of feedback the workers get. How can you make sure that they get informed about the knowledge of the results? But how much do you actually need? Because this model assumes a linear relationship. The model assumes that the more job characteristics an individual experiences, the higher their mental states are, which in turn would positively influence their performance and personal outcomes. And Peter Warr thought the same. He explained that each individual needs certain kind of vitamins. But according to his model, the different vitamins, which are crucial for nourishment, may actually have a different kind of effect on people. So for example, job safety, salary, task significance, they act like vitamin C. While they have a positive effect on effective well-being, but after a while you actually hit a kind of threshold and you will experience that more salary does not really have an impact anymore on your motivation. Additionally, Warr explained that there are certain vitamins like vitamin D. And even though that in the beginning they're good, in excess, so for example when you're sitting in the sun too long, it may have actually a detrimental effect on your well-being. So you can imagine that certain job demands, skill variety and autonomy are essential to a certain point. But in excess, they can actually act as a demotivator. If it's too much, it can even contribute to work overload and increased levels of stress. And you know, in the end, I would say it's about having clear conversations with your employees, making sure that you know what drives them, that you know what they need. Because only by getting into a conversation with them, you can make sure that you design their jobs in the most proper way so that you can actually retain and attract the talented people that you need.